Well, thank you all for being here. Just a reminder, we are recording this through Pasadena Media. If you have to leave early, just exit, but we will post the recording as we always do in our weekly newsletter through the email. If you're not signed up for that, please sign up for that. Pasadena Media and their team, of course, they record all of our meetings, our city council meetings, our committee meetings, our district meetings, our coffee and teas. And so they're just a great staple in the community, and they're our community-owned television network. And before I get into some more announcements, I do want to announce that we do have our city manager, Miguel Marquez, who has announced his retirement from the city of Pasadena. He's been with us for about 3 years. He has served our community and the residents with integrity, honesty, and he's just done a great job. We wish we could keep him, but it's his decision to go on and support his family. And so he'll be gone pretty soon, within the next few months. And the city council is undertaking a national search to interview our next city manager and hopefully onboard them sometime soon. And so we'll have an announcement about that within the coming months of that. And so we just wish Miguel Marquez well and his family. And so he served our city with just integrity. All right, tonight we will receive a brief presentation on the city's budget priorities. We will also receive an update on the Sunset Complex project led by Pasadena Water and Power. And we also have a representative from the Department of Transportation to address additional questions that may come up with just the egress, ingress of the project. And then we have, I think, the best fire chief in the country, our Pasadena Fire Chief, Chad Augustin, will provide an overview of the Pasadena Fire Department's 10-year plan outlining current staffing and facility limitations involving risks, facility limitations, the need for a sustained long-term investment to ensure a more prepared Pasadena for generations to come. And they did such a amazing, heroic job during the Eden Fire. And that's really through your leadership and through just the firefighters in our department that we're just so grateful to have in our city. And again, we have the District 3 weekly newsletter. If you're not signed up, please sign up. We provide updates every Friday, sometimes Saturdays, and just about what's going on in the city, community meetings. And you can always send us email suggestions asking for us to provide updates on any topics within the city that you don't see in those email updates. And so many thanks to the city team that's here today. Obviously, the fire chief, Phillip Leclair, who will present on our budget. He's our chief information officer. Michael Lynn from Pasadena Water and Power, and Latoya Andrews and the youth ambassadors are here with us today. And so we appreciate their service. And with that, I would like to turn it over to the president of Pacific Oaks College, Dr. Breda McGrath.
I won't take much of your time. Just a warm welcome to Breda McGrath, president of Pacific Oaks College and Children's School. We have been here for 80 years. I don't know if you knew that. The Children's School started in 1945, and then the college grew out of it. It's easy to miss the college campus as you're driving up and down Fair Oaks or you're coming off the freeway. But I think this is one of the most iconic colleges in this area. We train teachers, we train early childhood specialists, early childhood educators, social workers, community leaders, community psychologists, marriage and family therapists, all of that infrastructure in the community that's supportive in terms of mental health and education. This is where a lot of people are coming from. And some of the great reputation of Pasadena as a city of the young child is rooted in the work that people have done at Pacific Oaks. So we're thrilled to welcome back Councilmember Jones. We're delighted. Thanks, Lisa, for all your good organization. We're just always delighted to strengthen our bonds with the community and really kind of help folks build that infrastructure, be the place that we can be as a community. So you're always welcome here. And on we go to stronger and better futures.
Thank you for those wonderful remarks. So first, we will hear about our budget priorities, and let me introduce a gentleman by the name of Phillip Leclair. He's our Chief Information Officer, but he's also just been a jack of all trades within our city. He ran the rent stabilization department when we first launched that effort. He's worked really closely with the city council in developing our budget priorities through our workshop, and so I just really appreciate his service to our community and to our city. And let's give a round of applause for Phillip Leclair.
Good evening, everybody. Phillip Leclair, as is mentioned. So I'm going to be talking today just quickly about the city's budget, as well as some priorities that the council has starting to come together on as we look forward over the next couple of years. So only one boring slide for you, but this is a chart of our general fund. The general fund pays for lots of different programs and services that the city provides, particularly fire and police services, a lot of our general services, parks and recreation, and others. But what we wanted to show you in this map is that the city right now is grappling with a budget deficit. And what you see here is that the red line on this graph is our expenses, while the green line on this graph are our revenues. And it's showing that we have a structural deficit as we are moving forward into the future. And so the city staff, as well as the mayor has designated a budget task force, are looking at ways where we can decrease our expenditures, but also increase our revenues so that we can get this line back into back together so we don't have this gap. But right now we're faced with about somewhere between a $5 and $10 million deficit as we move forward. And some of the reasons why this deficit exists is think about just all of us in our own pocketbooks as the prices of groceries have gone up and gas and other products in the marketplace, as well as cost of living increases for all employees where you may be working. Anyways, these expenses are going up faster than the revenues that we were receiving. And so those are some of the big reasons why there is this deficit. There are other reasons why as well, which I'll just show here quickly for those of you who are really interested in the budget, is that some of our property tax revenues are declining, mainly because there hasn't been as much activity in terms of sales of homes and businesses in the city. Also, sales tax is still rebounding since pre-COVID times, as people are changing the ways that they are purchasing things, and part of sales tax revenues comes back to the city's general fund. And then lastly, there's a bunch of other taxes that the cities also collect. Transit occupancy tax is one of them. That's a percentage that's billed onto hotel stays. So people who are coming to visit Pasadena, or businesses who are sending their employees to come here for a conference, for instance, would be paying this tax. And we're seeing a lot of people coming back to the city to come visit, but just not at the same levels as prior to COVID. One thing I just want to mention, is that right now we're not expecting any real service impacts to the city through the efforts of the mayor's task force, staff, and then future discussions with the city council. We're pretty confident we're able to close this gap for next year. Notwithstanding any other challenges that may come that are external to us, think about what's happening in the federal government and other sources of revenue. So I want to move on to another more exciting topic here. It's a little difficult to read, so I'll use my notes here. But the City Council in December embarked on a budget priority workshop. This was a chance for the council to come together and really look through all the different kinds of things that are happening within the city. What are those bigger priorities where we want to ensure that there's revenues, that whenever there's funding available, whether we can get grant dollars to steer into some pretty big initiatives so that we can really invest in our city for the future. So there are 5 items, I'll quickly go through what those are, that the council really started to focus in on. And these are the programs and new initiatives that we are going to be hopefully able to incrementally work on or fund to actually make a real big difference in our community. The first is enhancing fire prevention and fire department modernization. And what this really is, it's about retrofitting, seismically improving, and modernizing a lot of our fire departments structures throughout the city. as well as expanding some of apparatus that we have, like ambulances and fire engines. And I won't take any more of this topic because the fire chief is here and I think has a whole presentation on why this is so important to this community. The second is about improving our roadways and rehabilitate and maintain our streets. You know, nobody likes if there's a pothole or some type of crack in the surface. We really want to make sure that we are investing in our street infrastructure. And for the last couple of years, the city council has put millions of dollars into continuing to improve and ensure that the quality of our roads here in Pasadena are up to par. But there's a long way to go, and this is a really big priority. The third is the creation of a year-round homeless shelter to improve transitional housing for a lot of the unhoused people within our community. This includes not only having an actual shelter where people can come 24 by 7, 365 days a year, but it's also to increase the amount of motel vouchers we have for people who are unhoused, who are on our streets, as well as other transitional housing programs to help all of our unhoused individuals. So this is a big area of opportunity. The fourth is something that's been going on for a while, which is advancing the city's goal to be 100% carbon-free by 2030. This is a very big goal that the city council and the community has, and we would be probably one of the first utilities in our area to reach that, and well ahead of the expectation for the state of California, which is practically about 15 years later. And so our utility, who's also here, is on their way to achieving that by 2030. So it's a very big investment. And then the last one here is about implementing the city's economic development strategic plan with an emphasis on improving our streetscapes and our neighborhood placemaking. And what that means is that for economic development is constantly trying to ensure that companies who are being developed, let's say out of Caltech or Art Center or JPL or any other company, stays here in Pasadena and grows. But we're also trying to encourage new types of businesses to come in, particularly around life sciences and deep tech. So that really complements a lot of the people that we have here and investments in terms of business and a lot of our professional talent who are coming from Caltech and other subsidiary companies. But we're also wanting to ensure that we're improving our commercial corridors. Think of like Lake Avenue or Old Pasadena. There are other places such as Lake Avenue and Washington Boulevard, as well as parts of Fair Oaks and Lincoln, where we want to invest and create more livable and pedestrian-friendly developments, mixed-use developments. And so implementing our economic strategic plan to really expand, improve our neighborhoods, bring better quality of life for everybody, and bring new opportunities is a very big priority for the council and for the community. So those are touch points of 5 different initiatives and projects that we are focusing on over the next couple of years. And lastly, because we're about to kick off the budget process for the city, there is a way for everyone in our community to participate. Later towards the late of April, we'll be releasing the draft budget for the next fiscal year, which begins on July 1st of 2026. And budget hearings take place in the city council chamber. Those will all be announced and will be published on the city's website. And then through reviewing these documents or listening or participating in any of the budget hearings, you can get all the documents about how the city spends its money or plans to spend its money, and we want your input. And you can either talk to your council member, you can come to one of the budget hearings, or you can go to the website that's listed here, and you will find a place where you can submit comments about what you think is important and what we should be prioritizing in our city. So thank you so much for having me this evening, and I can answer any questions if there's any.
And I would say that as we look for our next city manager, this is just one council member, but the charge really is to identify someone that's able to identify new streams of revenue within the city, because we have a lot of expenses, as you see, and we have high priorities and goals to keep the cost of living and to keep the quality of life within our city as a standard of Pasadena. And so that's what we would be at least that's what I would be looking for in a city manager. Any questions for Phillip on the budget?
There is no official timeline. I know that there are plans that have been designed and developed, and I know that there's been some grant opportunities that have that I know the city has gone after. And I also know that there's a combination, I think it's between transportation, maybe water and power, where they're actually doing some beautification in some of those corridors. I don't have an actual date, but if you want to give me your name or provide it to the council member, we can probably get that information to you.
Absolutely, that'd be great. Thanks.
Okay, up next we have Michael Lynn, who's the engineer and project manager for the Sunset Complex project with Pasadena Water and Power. Please give it up for Michael.
Good evening. First off, I want to thank Councilmember Jones for inviting us to present and provide an update on the Sunset Complex project. My name is Michael Lynn. I'm the project manager for this project. And first off, I just want to provide a couple key highlights on this project. First off, the Sunset Complex project aims to provide new reservoirs that are designed to current standards, groundwater treatment, solar system, and emergency generators. It also intends to provide improvements to landscaping, security fencing, visual enhancements to Florida pump station. And public outreach is important to us, which is why we're here. And construction is anticipated to be completed by 2029. Moving on to the next slide. The existing Sunset Reservoir is currently located at Sunset Avenue and West Mountain Street, right next to the city yard, just north of us. The existing Sunset reservoirs are over 125 years, are in need of replacements, and are vulnerable to earthquakes and leakage. This reservoir, in conjunction with Jones Reservoir on the east side of the city, combined to form the backbone of the city's distribution system. Some of the issues at Sunset Reservoir, as I mentioned, are structural related, leakage, and they are vulnerable to tampering. Because of its age and the issues, we currently only have Reservoir 2 in operation. So the Sunset Complex project will consist of 2 new pre-stressed concrete reservoirs, which have a total storage volume of 11 million gallons. We'll have a new groundwater treatment, with phase 1 having 1,500 GPM of treatment and room for it to expand up to 4,500 GPM. It also consists of a disinfection system by using chloramination. We're also rehabbing the existing bang well on the existing reservoir site. We will also be providing new solar system, emergency generators, and staff parkings for the staff working at the yard. We'll also provide new landscaping. So here on the screen, we have a rendering of the Sunset Complex. So starting off on the right-hand side, we have the 2 circular concrete structure, which is our new reservoirs. Moving towards the left, on the very left side is the groundwater treatment facility. It's kind of beige color, kind of hard to see on the screen. Right next to it, we have the city staff parking right above the treatment area, and just to the south or just below the reservoirs. And on the very left side, we have the existing bag well and one of the emergency generators. And between the 2 reservoirs, just to the top of it, is the existing Florida booster pump station. And we will provide a new emergency generator to provide power to the pump station. On Mountain Street, on the bottom of this screen, we are improving the existing mountain entrance. So we will be configuring the orientation of the entrance, providing a new signal light, and providing a left turn signal. So this is to help traffic going in and out of the site. We will also be upgrading the entrance over at Sunset Avenue, and this is right on the top of the page, top left corner of the slide. So we've held a number of public meetings over the years, and we received quite a bit of comments. Some of the concerns that we receive are related to construction to truck access and the visibility at the treatment facility. So originally we had the treatment facility located on the east side of the site near Sunset Avenue. I know the public, some of the residents commented that they were concerned about how it looks, about trucks coming in and out of that site. So we went back to the drawing board and moved the treatment facility all the way to the west side, so it's further away from the public and is less visible to the public. We also eliminated the dedicated truck access to this treatment site so that it'll have less impact to the community. Other concerns include construction impact concerns. So a lot of concerns were related to noise and traffic impact. So in order to address these issues, we are planning on specifically requiring a contractor to provide mitigation measures. Some of these measures will address noise concerns. So we will limit the contractor work to between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. and maybe on Saturdays if needed. Dust concerns will require the contractor to mitigate these dust concerns, such as wetting the ground, providing track in, track out to keep the dust to a minimum. Traffic concerns will be addressed by requiring the contractor to limit their construction activity, construction vehicles to Mountain Street and Sunset Avenue in between Glorieta and West Mountain Street. We will also require the contractor to provide a construction staging and traffic management plan for our review and approval. For contractors' parking needs, we require them to park on-site or have them procure another off-site location for their staff parking to minimize impact and parking along Sunset Avenue. We will also provide contact information so the residents can reach out to us if there's any issues during construction. The other concern that came up was our clean energy initiative. So we addressed that by adding the solar component to our project. We're looking at adding approximately a 1.6 megawatt system, which will consist of solar canopies over the parking area and solar panels on the reservoir roofs. So as you can see, this, as I mentioned, this reservoir site also serves as a parking needs for the staff working at the yard. As you can see, there's roughly over 150 parking stalls at the reservoir site, which we need to make accommodation at the yard or elsewhere. To address our parking needs, we plan on moving some of the equipment and vehicles out of the yard to provide additional space for parking. We're also looking at moving some of the staff to other sites across the site, but we can only do so much with this. We are still looking at other opportunities, but as a last resort, we are considering using Hammond Gate for ingress and egress. I understand this is a concern to some of the residents around the yard. So we plan on mitigating some of the issues that might occur. So what we plan on doing is restricting the use of this gate to morning and afternoon traffic hours. We also restrict access to here to exit access through left turn out only to direct traffic away from the residential area. We will also limit the amount of vehicles that could come in and out of this entrance. So lastly, I just have a slide on the project status. So in terms of schedule, the design phase, environmental studies, and permitting started back in fall 2020. We anticipate that we will complete this task by the end of this year. And we will move into contractor procurement with construction anticipated to start during the summer of 2027. We anticipate that this construction will last approximately 2 years. In terms of funding, we are currently working on an application with EPA for additional loans to fund this project. With the EPA has accepted our application, and we're currently working on the terms and agreements. PWP was also awarded a community grant of just under $1 million for the construction of the groundwater treatment facilities. We are looking at additional funding, but currently this is what we have so far. The environmental study was released for public review late last year, and we are currently reviewing the comments and addressing the comments. Lastly, as I mentioned, the design had just commenced. The 95% design that started roughly about a month ago. So we're working on trying to finalize this project, this design, by the end of this year. And the construction cost of this project is currently estimated to be roughly $81 million. So the next few slides, I've got a couple of renderings to show you, showing what the Sunset Complex will look like. So this is the an aerial view of the site. We're currently looking westward, the two circular tanks are the reservoirs, and on the right is the parking area, and kind of in the back is the treatment facility. So here's a view of the improved entrance at West Mountain Street. So as you can see, we're putting a new signal light and a left turn signal, and then we're also widening the entrance a little bit. So then that would help traffic coming in and out of sight. We're also making improvement to existing Gloria Booster pump station, most of its visual, make aesthetic improvements. We're also improving the noise issue coming out of this reservoir. This pump station, I'm sorry. So this is another view at Gloria Street and Sunset Avenue looking into the site. And this is kind of looking northwesterly. And then this is a view, same view looking southwest. And lastly, we have another view looking at the site on Sunset Avenue. So this concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions that may come up.
When you were talking about parking structure, is there any chance that you could go up another level for another level of parking in that area so that you would have parking at the ground level and then one up top?
So we have no plans for a parking structure. Right now, the parking design is shown at grade. I know in the past there has been issues or concerns about the visibility. So right now we don't have any plans on putting in the parking structure.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question about the street widening on Sunset. Can you go into more depth about that?
So we are not widening the street. All we're doing is widening the driveway into the site. So the only thing it's kind of hard to see, but the only thing we're widening is this entrance right here. Same thing as,
You want to point on here?
oh, it doesn't work on there. So, and same thing over at Mountain Street. There won't be no widening of Sunset Avenue or West Mountain Street.
Okay. Secondly, you said you might use Sunset Avenue for purposes of this project. Is that getting limited? Is there certain days and times, as we discussed in the past?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Well, there would be construction, and trucks will have to travel down and up that street at a certain time. I just want to know, do you have those times, or are they going to be provided at a later date?
We will need the use of Sunset Avenue between Gloria Booster Pumps between Gloria Street and West Mountain Street. At this time, I cannot tell you during what duration we would need it. I think that would be worked out during construction. But we would need access. It's mainly because we have a lot of construction activity along Sunset Avenue.
But then we will notify the
We would have notification.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we could do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All my questions are going to have to do with Sunset and Glorietta for obvious reasons. You said, my first question is, you're widening the Sunset entrance to the parking lot?
Correct.
The Sunset entrance. Okay,
Yes.
Can you go back to that picture? And is that parking lot being permanently removed as a staff parking?
No, this will continue to
So
be.
this is temporary.
No, this is permanent. This is
The widening is permanent, but the use of it.
the use of it will be permanent too.
And so what is that use going to be going forward if it's not staff parking?
Staff parking. This will be used for staff parking.
It will.
So earlier I mentioned that we'll be relocating staff to the yard. That's temporary, only for duration of
While it's in
construction.
construction.
Yeah. Once the project's been completed, we'll be moving staff back to this location.
Okay, and so during construction, that is where you're going to be having trucks coming in and out?
We will limit the trucks to the entrance on Mountain as much as possible.
Hmm.
In the case that the contractor would need it, this entrance, we might have to use it. I can't guarantee that we won't use it, but there is a possibility that we might use it. But we'll do our best to limit the truck activity to Mountain Street.
Right. And exactly how much wider are you going to make that entrance?
I believe the entrance is going to be roughly 30 feet wide. I don't recall what the current width of the entrance is. I think it's probably like 16 feet, but I'm not sure.
Hmm. And when you refer to left turn only, are you talking about out of this? Were you talking about Sunset, Mountain, or Hammond?
The left turn only was referring to Hammond.
Okay. No signal light's going to be there.
Not on Hammond and not on
No, I'm
Sunset.
back to Sunset.
No signal lights on
Okay.
Sunset.
And the view that you're showing us right now, that's looking west.
Looking west.
What are those structures to the left? Because are those electric stations
So
To the
one in
left.
blue, gray, that's the emergency
to
generator.
the left?
To the left? These things?
To the left, to the south of the driveway.
Well, these are the solar canopies right here.
Okay.
This is the EV charger stations.
So
These
those
are
are
the
gonna,
fast
so those
chargers.
are going to be very visible from Sunset because all you see right now,
Mhm.
first of all, that those solar panels look like they're higher than the current structure. So,
Yes.
okay, but one of your previous signs said that going forward, nothing would be higher than what is currently there. This was an issue raised more than a year ago for those of us who live in the area.
The previous presentation, I had mentioned that the new reservoirs would be lower than existing reservoirs. At that time, we had not considered installing solar at this
Okay,
time.
so this is new. Okay.
So solar is new.
So we still have the same issues. Some of us will still have the same issues about what you're seeing from the neighborhood. The same thing with the EV stations. What you're showing now is much more things
Mhm.
in the view than is there now. And I get what you're saying with respect to, well, yeah, the reservoir is not going to be in higher, but we put a 10-story building there that we didn't tell you about. I'm exaggerating to make my point because the solar panels look like they're higher than the current reservoir. You just
Agree.
I get it, right?
I agree.
And we don't now see EV stations. And so are those going to be for the cars that are parking in the lot?
These will be for city vehicles. So the city has an initiative to transition to all EV vehicles. So we are providing these EV stations
Right.
for these
So
future.
since they're visible, does that mean there's a chain link fence in front of them then?
Yes, there is a chain link fence.
Okay. And the same thing on the right-hand side. That's a chain link fence.
Correct.
Well, we're looking this way. I think the audience is looking that way.
Mhm.
So I just drove in the driveway
Mhm.
and there's two big metal boxes.
Yes.
Again, visible from the street. This is all chain link fencing.
Mhm.
Okay. What else do I have? And what is the status of the EIR in terms of people being able to continue to comment on now what we see is different from what we saw some time ago?
Well, the public comment period has ended, but if you, yeah, it has ended. But if you have any comments, go ahead and submit it. We'll see if we could address those comments or not.
Right. So I don't know. Maybe I missed the phase where this design was put forth where people could comment on it and it would be effectively, I mean, it would be, it seems to me at this point, it's like, that 99% design Um,
Correct me
I mean, what's-
Michael, but the design was included in.
In the ER. Mhm.
I can't hear you.
How many pages was the EIR?
Oh,
I don't remember off the top of my head. It was a few hundred. Mhm.
I'm sorry, I can let other people
Okay.
be taken up. I have more questions, but I'm gonna let other.
Oh, you're fine.
Mhm.
Oh, we just need you to talk to the mic for the.
I'll follow that now. So during the construction, I missed it, where the staff is going to park.
So we're going to require the contractor to park inside the site for their staff parking. As far as construction vehicles, we'll try to get them to park inside the site as much as possible. But we do have construction activities along Sunset Avenue, so they may have to use Sunset Avenue for some of their parking.
So they're going to park on the street.
They may. At this time, I don't know. There's something that will be sorted out during construction.
Okay, and you said you are going to use the Hammond entrance as a last resort entrance, yes?
Yes.
For the construction, for the staff.
This is for the staff. So as I mentioned earlier, like we are moving roughly 100 vehicles or 100 staff into the yard. We are making room for these staff by relocating some of the city equipment to other sites across town. But we are squeezing 100 more vehicles in there. We are looking at other ways to address our parking needs. So right now, I'm saying is we're not taking Hammond Gate off the table, but it's something that we would use as a last measure. We're doing everything we can to avoid using it, but there is possibility that we will use Hammond Gate.
So you are going to use the Hammond gate for sure. So how are you going to monitor it?
Excuse me?
How are you going to monitor it? Because you said it's going to make only a left turn. You are going to monitor how many people are going to use it. How are you going to do that? Are you going to have a police officer there when they make a right? Because they will make a right. Come on, we are humans. Okay, they will make a right. So they are going to impact Sunset Avenue and the neighborhood.
Well, our thoughts is that we would put a security guard there to direct traffic because we want to prevent people from coming in and out of the yard that's not supposed to be there. We will also assign certain people to use that gate. So they have to, basically all employees have to badge in and badge out, right? So we could limit their access on who can use that gate and who can't. The other thing we can do is like we can also give a special placard so that security guards know that who's allowed to go in and out through there.
Oh, awesome. And you said that it's going to be temporary, but it's nothing permanent than like when you start temporary, it becomes permanent. This is a life experience. So are we going to consider that the Hammond entrance is going to be temporarily permanent entrance and exit?
I can only speak for my project. The use of this gate is only intended for the duration of this project.
But when you guys start using it, and then we are like, we are using it, now it becomes permanent. So now we're having another entrance. So we're going to have 4 entrances for the city yard, which probably it was a goal. 1 on Sunset Avenue, 2 on Mountain, and 1 on Hammond.
I just want to clarify one thing. There's only 2, and currently there's only 1 entrance to the city yard. The entrance to the reservoir is completely separate from the yard, especially after this project is completed, because due to security concerns, we plan on putting new security fencing around the entire reservoir site, separating the reservoir from the yard completely. So there will be 4 entrances for the yard, to get a yard. As for your question regarding whether the Hammond Gate will be a permanent entrance, all I can say is that Our intent, our design or purpose is to help alleviate traffic coming in and out of the yard during the construction of Sunset. Once Sunset construction is done, we don't have, as part of this project, we don't have any plans to use Hammond. So we're going to move everything back, all the staff back to the yard, and they will use the Sunset Avenue and the mountain entrance to get in and out.
Very good. So if you can put it on your notes that, so it will be written somewhere that this is a temporary solution. So in 3-4 years, we have somewhere to stand on and say, hey, you know what? On the records, it says it's temporary. Why are you still, I'm not saying you, but why City of Pasadena, you are still using it? Because it's going to be used.
I can commit to anything. I'm only an engineer on this project. I can only control the elements associated with my project. I do not have any say on city operation. I did mention that as a last resort.
I live on Sunset Avenue, as do other people here. And what's going on right now on this road right here, we're having mini garbage trucks and all kinds of trucks enter that Hammond Gate who've never entered it before. The mini garbage trucks, which are over 5 tons, how many tons are they? 10, 20? And they really disrespect the neighborhood. So what are you going to do in that parking lot, which now has a wider gate, so more people are going to take it, and they go right up Sunset, and today, as in every day, the city trucks run the stop signs on the corner. So this is a problem that the city employees do not respect the neighborhood. So what can you do? Who's going to be parking in those spots?
So these spots will be for city staff parking. So this will be for employees. The EV chargers will be provided for some of the city's vehicles and parking. So we would limit traffic because we are improving at the entrance on Mountain Street. So we can limit the city traffic to go through Mountain to charge at the site. But as I mentioned, this site would be primarily for staff parking. After hours, will probably be used for charging for city vehicles.
So the reason you made the entrance wider is why? So more bigger trucks could go in, or more people could go in, or better vision? Why is the entrance wider?
So as I mentioned, the existing entrance is roughly 16 feet wide. It can only accommodate traffic going in one direction. Widening it allows traffic to enter and out
Coming
in
in
both.
on our side.
Not necessarily true, because we are providing an intersection and larger entrance on Mountain Street.
Right, okay.
A lot of the traffic will be coming through here because currently the site is separated to a northern area and southern area by a fence line. So you will not be getting more traffic coming out of the Sunset Avenue site because there's already majority of the vehicles are already parked on the north side and has to take to Sunset Avenue. By allowing access to the mountain side, we're diverting some of the traffic through the mountain entrance.
Right, that's good. But right now, the city employees, every day, Renee can attest to this, Yorgos, everybody who lives on that street, plow through, run the stop sign, parking on the street, and not obeying the law. So I just want to voice that at this meeting. And the other thing that's happening on Hammond, we had a big rig Amazon truck go through there. And the sign, what does the sign say? Coming in, no trucks more than 5 tons going south and no more trucks than 3 tons going north. And those trucks continue to take Sunset. So what can you do about this in this plan that you've gotten this information from the neighbors? And then if you're going to open up the Hammond Gate, why can't they take Glen? Because Glen has a light. The problem to all of this is the city employees take Sunset because it's faster than Fair Oaks. So there has to be something done with the city employees to tell them, hey, respect their neighbors. They can go down Glen and into the parking lot, but they don't. They come down Sunset. And the sign says, no trucks more than 5 tons on one side and no trucks more than 3 tons on the other side. And they take it anyway
For this
for Sunset.
For the city employees, I can commit to continue to work with the city manager as I've been doing. I mean,
Okay,
you said-
every day, Justin.
Yeah, I know,
Every
I know.
day.
And I see the emails and I see the emails from other residents within the area. And as soon as I get those emails, I forward them over to, depending on what the truck is, if it's water and power, if it's public works, or if it's DOT. But I'll commit to continue to
Yeah.
work with the city
Today,
manager.
I saw they have those new mini garbage trucks.
Mhm.
He's coming in there and he's parking up there. That's a commercial truck. That shouldn't
Yeah.
be on a residential neighborhood. And so I don't know what you're doing as far as cameras, but you have to have a security guard there because these people are not paying attention. As was the writer on the tractor looking at his phone while I was standing. He was looking at his phone while he was driving down Sunset
No, I understand. And
Yeah.
and yeah, I've seen
On
the
a tractor.
documentation. Yeah.
on a tractor. So the problem is that it is decimating this neighborhood out of disrespect by the city employees. And then you say that these construction people are going to do it, but we have to have like almost somebody on site all day. And there really should be somebody enforcing the big rig trucks coming down Sunset. Because we hear them and then they go over the speed bumps, which don't stop them, and they go. And there are children now in this neighborhood. It's not safe. You can't see them. And then when you go down Hammond, there's a big dip there, and the road looks like Death Valley. It's so cracked from the trucks. And so anything you can do, I mean, even put a roadblock up so they can't go to Sunset coming out of Hammond if you open up the gate. You have to have a guy there with a flashlight or whatever they have.
No, I get it. And your safety is my top priority, as
Okay.
you know. So I'll commit, and I have to
Okay.
continue to work with the city manager on that. That's
Okay.
beyond the scope of what Michael
Right.
is
And when they
responsible
come
for.
out of
Yeah.
the Sunset lot, there's no reason why they have to go up Sunset speeding. And now the city employees are still parking on Sunset every day.
Right. The city employees is my city
Okay.
manager's responsibility, and the city manager reports to me and the city council. So I'll work with the city manager
Okay.
to address that piece.
Right. The guy in the orange Dodge Charger,
Mhm.
he parks on the street even though there's parking spaces in the lot.
I understand.
Yeah.
Let's
Okay. But anyway, the design, we're mainly concerned. I love that they have electric vehicle chargers there because the vehicles are going to be quiet. But you have to see what's going on presently in the neighborhood and fix that first before you do the construction. No? Boy.
I mean, there's a lot of issues going on that we're working on.
Okay, but
yeah.
have you got the idea that we don't want the Hammond Gate opened?
Yeah, I mean, I met with you all about the Hammond Gate before. I mean, you know that there's an issue with DOT, and the Hammond Gate was not open after that. What I heard from Michael was that the Hammond Gate would be the option of last resort.
Okay.
And if he does have to go with that, rest assured that Michael's going to go through Stacy and David and come to Lisa and myself, and then we're going to come to the residents to have a meeting. Like, nothing we do is in a silo, and I think you would agree with that.
Okay, but so what's happening right now is the city employees and all the trucks take Sunset,
Mhm.
even though they're not even going in that gate because it's a shortcut for them. And they've been doing it for years. And I have video going back how many years, Michael? 15 years. Yeah.
Let's get
Okay. Yeah.
pass it to our ambassador.
Here, you got here.
Was there another question from someone else?
Can I just, getting back to the design, on the EV station, the other question we had was, are those EV stations going to be accessible after 5 o'clock? And is it only for city staff
It's only for
during,
city staff.
during the day?
It's only for city staff during the day and night.
During the day and night.
Yes, so city vehicles at night.
So it's not staff parking. So this is for the, so those EV stations are going to be for city equipment that will be parked in this lot 24/7, storing equipment.
No,
City vehicles.
it will not be for city equipment, but after hours, it could be used for city vehicles. So obviously, we're going to have electric vehicles in the future. We're converting our vehicles to
Well, yeah, that's what I
electric.
meant when I said city equipment.
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
not an engineer, so I know what there's a difference. Yeah. City vehicles would be charging at those stations.
Yeah. So for
and
example,
be parked.
For example, like an operational staff will come back after conclude their day, come back to parking lot, take their car home. They may be driving a city vehicle during the day for their work, for their operation and maintenance. They come back, park their F-150, F-250, whatever vehicle it is, plug it in, and charge up the car overnight. And they want to go home. Next day, they come into the work. They could come in, park their car, take the city vehicle out. It'll be something like that.
Do you have a view of this slide that gives me more width so I can see? Right now, south of the driveway, there's nothing there. Right, south of the south of the Sunset driveway.
I'm not sure what you mean. There's nothing there. The reservoir too.
There's the reservoir, but there's no equipment that's visible from the street like that. To me, this overall view is much more industrial than what is presently there, which is a reservoir that's been there forever.
Okay.
It has a certain presence, and then there's the parking. And now this, to me, looks a lot more industrial on Sunset. Never mind the landscaping. But chain link fences, that mean you can see all the way to the lot, to the south of the driveway right now. There's no chain link fence. Like you said, it's just a reservoir. So what's replacing it, to me, is much more visible. That looks like a gas station, right? And so that's right pretty much just a little bit north. Well, in my view, it looks like a gas station. And that's just a little bit north of with this part, I'm trying to visualize. I look at it when I go home. Yeah, okay. So you're standing right there now at the corner. You're looking northwest from Sunset and Glorietta.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you see the charging station, and I don't know what traveling south. What is that we're looking at? We're looking through a chain link fence, and what are we seeing?
You're looking at the solar canopies.
Right. I'm sorry. At ground level, I can't tell what that is.
It's just basically parking spaces.
So we're going to be able to see cars that we do not now. I know where it is.
So
I live there. It's across. I'm looking up my. Well, okay. I'm standing on my front yard right now. This is my view. So you're looking through a chain link fence, and what I'm going to see cars parked there. We're going to see cars, not just me. But it's not shown in your elevation. It just looks like it's plantings.
That's correct.
So you didn't do a rendering that shows what it's most likely to look like if there's cars parked there.
Do you have one?
I don't have one at this time, but it's something that we could generate it.
Yeah, because that's going to tell the true impact and the real use based on what we're learning now. And is there any reason why those stations couldn't be pushed further west so they're not so visible from the street?
We could go back and relook to see if we could relocate that. Right now, that's a very good location for us.
I appreciate taking this time, so I'll let other people just.
Okay, I'm adding a additional note to what she's just saying briefly. I'm not going to take up your time. The EV buses that go out Hammond temporarily at Hammond and the end of the lot where the Hammond gate is on the weekends. Remember we talked about that? They're buses. There's only 2.
Yeah, Donson, do you want to?
Oh, Donson's here.
Yeah.
Oh, there.
Okay. Yeah. Talk to you every day. It seems like. The buses that are temporarily going out the lot of Hammond near where Euros resides. the Hammond Street exit. Are those buses going to be, are they still there for a while? They're going to be utilizing this area here for the EV? Like when they leave, they have to charge too.
The buses, there is a planned bus maintenance facility and electric bus charging station that will be on the east side of town. That's not constructed yet, so I can't really speak to it directly, but I know that eventually the electric buses will be away from here.
But they have to charge there temporarily.
I imagine so. I don't think the facilities on the east side of town have been constructed yet.
Will they be completed about the same time as this project?
I wish I could answer that. I'm not the right person to ask, but I can find out that answer. and
Okay, that'd be
get back to the
great.
Councilmember. Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, let's give Michael and Danton a round of applause. Oh, is there another one? Is somebody else?
Between them, where the chain link fence lands, so they will grow happier, so they will do all the parking.
So we're still looking at that. We have limited space between the chain link fence and the solar canopy. So on our previous plan, we did show landscaping there to help screen the facility from the site. But since we're putting in a solar canopy there, and we have all these EV station there, we need a little bit of space for maintenance and avoid conflict between the landscaping and the solar canopy, because obviously, like, you have this shading over these landscaping, eventually they're just gonna die. So we're still looking to see what options we have. This is our current thoughts. We could possibly put some smaller plants in that area, but we haven't gotten to that point where we finalize the design.
Okay, thank you. And let's give a round of applause for Michael. Okay, last but certainly not least is our Fire Chief, Chad Augustin, and here to present on the 10-year plan.
Good evening to everyone. First, can we just give Councilmember Jones and Lisa Barrios a big round of applause? They worked so hard in this community, and they're just everywhere. And I know this last topic was really important. And so if I need to shorten my message at all, I'm happy to. But I want to give a little background of why I'm here tonight and why we're talking about a 10-year or a long-term plan. Post Eaton fire, I came back to council to give some updates and was asked, hey, what does the fire department and the city need to do to be prepared for the next disaster that's coming our way? And really, as we're looking at climate change and wildfires and earthquakes, we know with a high degree of certainty that there will be another disaster in our future, right? And so my job as your fire chief is to make sure that our community is as prepared as possible. And as you heard from Phillip earlier this evening, really, like, we're in a tough financial climate where our expenses are outpacing our revenues. And when we talk about infrastructure like fire stations and fire engines and ladder trucks and ambulances, there's a big cost to those. And you'll hear me talk a little bit more about our fire stations. We have 8 fire stations that are strategically located across the city. And really, the whole intent is that if you call 911 right now, within about 4 to 6 minutes of travel time, you're going to have a fire engine or a ladder truck and an ambulance there to serve you and your loved ones in your time of need. Pasadena being 24 square miles, there's very few empty lots, right? And so much of what we're doing now is infill projects and vertical growth, which also impacts our response times and also impacts traffic, which we were just talking about. So the overarching goal of a long-term plan is first and foremost to continue as well as improve service delivery to our community in your time of need. We also want to address changing demographics. We're an aging community, which means that 911 is our call volume will continue to grow up. And just as an example, in 1950, your Pasadena Fire Department responded to 1,000 calls in a year. And we actually had more firefighters on duty each day than we do today in 2026, in which we ran over 21,000 calls. And so while the call volume has gone up, we haven't kept pace with both the infrastructure of our fire stations as well as your daily staffing. So as we look at our standards of cover, and so we contract with an expert, or we call them a consultant. They come in and they evaluate our response times, our high hazards, our infill projects, and then they look at what is a national best practice for how many firefighters you need on duty each day to have an effective response force, no matter what the emergency is, whether it's a brush fire, a structure fire, a hazardous materials response, and then they provide a best practice. And that's really when you start hearing me talk about our growth and recommendations over the next 10 years, it's not just Chad Augustin's recommendations. It's based on multiple standards of cover of what is best for what our community deserves. So I just want to talk a little bit about our infrastructure. As I mentioned, we have 8 fire stations. Some of our oldest fire stations are, when we talked about the college here in 1945, right? Our oldest fire station was built in 1946. And so it's about 80 years old. Just as recent as 3 years ago, 50% of our fire stations didn't meet the seismic standards. And so we were able to do over the last 4 years, thank you to Councilmember Jones and our city council, we were able to dedicate funds to do remodels on 2 of our fire stations so that they're up to date on seismic standards. And then we have 2 fire stations that are both functionally outdated, as well as when we look at wanting to attract a diverse community. And the national average right now for females in the fire service is about 3.9%. We're in a slightly better position. We're at about 6.5%, but we should be striving for 50% of our workforce, because that's 50% of the community we serve is females. When we look at even our fire stations, some of them, they don't have female dormitories and dedicated dorms for sleeping arrangements. There's a common dorms. When we're also looking at reducing the incidence of diesel exhaust and exposure to cancer-causing agents, there's definitely a best practice when it comes to building fire stations, so that you have exhaust capture and you have dedicated rooms for your personal protective equipment so that they're not exposed to carcinogens, which at the end of the day ensures a healthier workforce. So we're really targeting, and which you'll hear me talk about in future slides, Fire Station 33 on North Lake, and it was built in 1946, and then Fire Station 37 on East Foothill, and which was built in, I believe, 1950. Both of them definitely functionally obsolete. And then to celebrate renovations that we've done that I mentioned, Fire Station 31 on South Fair Oaks and Fire Station 38 on Linda Vista both had remodels and seismic upgrades in the last 3 years. So we tried to break down a long-term plan as being short, medium, and long-term goals. And again, I want to acknowledge Councilmember Jones and our city council. We were able to, this last fiscal year, address our short-term goals, and that was to add a second daily operations battalion chief. And you can think of the battalion chief as like the on-duty supervisor for the whole city. And then until December, we only had 1 battalion chief on duty for all 8 fire stations each day. And one of the takeaway lessons from the Eaton fire, in which we lost track of numerous firefighters, is that our span of control just on a daily basis is stretched thin, let alone in a disaster. So we were able to add a second daily operations battalion chief, and we split the city by the 210. So we have a battalion chief on duty north of the 210 and 1 on duty south of the 210, and they both oversee 4 fire stations. And then as we look at our mid-range 2 to 5 year goals, the recommendation is to add another suppression company, and that could be a fire engine or a ladder truck, and I can talk about the differences and the recommendations, and then another ambulance. Your Pasadena Fire has been providing ambulance transport to the community since prior to 1980. And many communities contract with private ambulance companies. We believe that having your own your own Pasadena Fire Department, your own city employees provides a higher level of service. Until 2006, we had 4 ambulances. In 2007, we added a 5th ambulance. And then it was almost 20 years until just 2 years ago, we added a 6th full-time ambulance on duty each day. And my goal over the next 10 years is to take that to 8 daily ambulances. And for all the reasons that we talked about, an aging population, increasing response times, we're overly reliant on our neighboring cities, specifically for ambulances. South Pasadena, San Marino, Glendale, they come into the city every day to provide ambulance transport for our community because we're out of ambulances, that they're responding to other calls. And then finally, the long-term goals in the 5 to 10-year plan is to add a 9th fire station. And if we go back to the 1950s, we actually had 10 fire stations, which is 2 more than we have today. And so adding a 9th fire station would, and it's all about that response time that we talked about in that 4 to 6 minutes. We have 3 areas of the city that would be ideal to close that gap in our response times, as well as address the increasing call volume in the span of control. So adding that 9th fire station, an 8th full-time ambulance, a 3rd ladder truck, and then rebuilding Fire Station 37. So as I mentioned, we celebrated adding that 2nd battalion chief. We promoted for the first time in Pasadena Fire's history a female battalion chief, which for us is something to celebrate. She's the highest ranking female in the history of our department. So when we talk about the mid-range goals, that 2 to 5 years, we currently have 8 fire engines. So this would be adding a 9th fire engine. And our fire engines carry hose and water, as well as firefighting personnel and all of our EMS gear with paramedics on them. And then that 7th full-time ambulance. And you can see there's a big investment into infrastructure. Both a fire engine today is about $1.5 million to purchase, and an ambulance is about $500,000. And then the staffing with 2 people on an ambulance and 4 people on a fire engine gets to be very expensive. And then rebuilding a fire station. And we worked with our Public Works and BSFMD to help with what the costing would be and what a best practice. And you could see $30 million is a tremendous amount. But these fire stations are built to be 50 to 70 years lasting and would meet all the seismic infrastructure requirements as well as your best practice, and to allow for us to continue to grow to better serve the community. Right now, we have fire stations that were built in the 50s. There was only men in the fire service, and our fire apparatus was much smaller. And so, as an example, Fire Station 38 on Linda Vista, we've raised the roof as much as we can to fit a fire engine in there, and the clearance is about 1.5 inches. And as fire apparatus continues to get bigger and taller, it's a challenge for us to fit them even under our fire stations. And then in the long-term plan, it would be adding a 3rd ladder truck. And right now we have a ladder truck. We have 2 ladder trucks in the city, one on the east side of the city and one on the west side. And they cover the entire city and share the city. And you could think of a ladder truck as like a big toolbox on wheels. They have all the jaws of life. They have the ladder, the aerial ladder, and any type of rescue equipment you can think of. As of right now, because they share the city on east and west side, we have a big gap in the middle of the city where we're not meeting our response times. And then finally, in that 5 to 10-year plan, it would be adding an 8th full-time ambulance. And so ideally 8 out of our 9 fire stations would have an ambulance in them 10 years from now. And then again, rebuilding a fire station, the cost is tremendous, almost $38 million. And that's in 10 years from now prices. But I just want to take a moment to highlight again what Phillip said. As we're in some economic challenges, there's no city right now that has an extra $37 million to build a fire station, and so that's really why you've started to hear some messaging about a parcel tax, what that could look like, and ultimately it'll be our voters that make that decision if it's worth the investment to improve service delivery to our community. So in total, the infrastructure would be just over 100 million for tearing down and rebuilding 2 fire stations and building a 3rd fire station. And then as we look at potential fire stations, and I just want to move over here for a second, I'll come right back. You see the 1, 2, and 3. Those are the 3 areas that have been identified in the city in which would be ideal locations for a new fire station. Ultimately, right, we would also, what's most important is to be able to find a lot of land in which we could build a fire station, because there's not a lot of vacant lots. And we can get really creative where we partner with a business and we're on the bottom floor and you have business or residential above that. That's just an example of an option. But the 3 locations there in which we're not meeting our response times, and we're also seeing a large increase in infill and growth of residential and businesses, and that's what makes them ideal locations. So in total, when we look at the infrastructure is just over 100 million, and then 113 million for personnel and apparatus. And that's broken down for about 10 million on the apparatus and 100 million for all your personnel, which would cover the cost over the next 10 years. And then we said, well, this is great. We're improving service delivery to the community and addressing infrastructure, but what about year-round weed abatement and brush clearance? That's equally important. And right now, when we talk to our partners from Public Works and Parks, they have a small budget, and that's really not for year-round brush clearance. And so in working with Coco Panosian from the parks, they said, please tell us what a gold standard would be for our community, for all of our high hazard severity zones, as well as all city areas in which we need to do brush clearance, not just in the springtime, but year-round. And so what looks like about $11 million over 10 years, just over $1 million a year for annual brush clearance, and that would be included in this parcel tax. And some of the areas to highlight on there, you'd have a program coordinator, you'd have weed abatement and brush clearance, tree services, goat grazing, and workforce development programs, which was really important for us as well as we believe for the community. And we just partnered with One Arroyo on a 3-year goat contract in which they're assisting with that. Goats are great, especially in steep areas. The challenge with goats is that they eat everything. And so if we only want them to focus on one area, you really have to have good oversight. But in steep, challenging areas where the terrain is tough, the goats do a great job. So then we talked about, which I'll cover really quickly, some other areas that wouldn't even be included in the parcel tax. And I just want to take a moment to highlight our partnership at Jefferson Elementary. When the Central Library closed down, right, the Central Library needed a place to call home. And so for part of their operations, they moved to Jefferson Elementary, which is a school on Villa that wasn't being used by PUSD. And today it's probably a nationwide model for a great use for multiple departments. Pasadena PD uses it for their PALS program. Pasadena Fire uses it for our training center because we don't have a training center, as well as our in-service training for all of our personnel. If you go by there right now during the week, you'll see that we have 17 new firefighting recruits that are in week 13 of a 19-week recruit academy, and that's where we're doing all of our training. You also have the library, you have pickleball. It's just a great shared use. That contract is with PUSD is up November of next year. And so one of the conversations that I've been having with the city manager as well as city council is what will happen after the end of next year. We need to be able to identify a location, if not Jefferson, for a training center. So I will end there and open it up to any questions. I covered that quickly because I know we're running short on time. But again, I just want to thank you for hearing me out, hearing about what I recommend as a best practice of where the city needs to be 10 years from now so that we can continue to provide the best service possible to all of you. Any questions?
Hi, I just had a question about the climate change. Will you be, I know you're researching it. When the wind comes up or any other climate thing that you see, are you guys monitoring that? You have a plan? Like, for instance, tell the power department you're going to interact with your other departments to facilitate, to prevent a fire. I know you can't prevent it, but there are protocols in place to at least try to stop it.
Yes. We work, we're really fortunate to have a full service city, our own public health department, our own fire, police, our own water and power. And so I believe they're over 2/3 of their lines are either underground or fully coated. Stacy, I don't want to speak to you, but when we compare Pasadena Water and Power to some of the other, I'll say Southern California Edison and some of the other power companies, Pasadena Water and Power shines in that area. And so, Stacy, is there anything that you want to add to that?
Okay, you just come up there.
Sure.
Hi, folks. Stacy Takaguchi. I'm the Chief Assistant General Manager, Pasadena Water and Power. Chief Chad is correct. We have majority of our power lines underground. Actually, we have covered conductors, et cetera, to ensure that the materials we use are also less vulnerable to wind and fire. And so that's fantastic. We're actually leading, I think, the country in that respect. On top of that, we are working very closely with the fire department and other departments and other utilities across our region on early detection across the way. So that's something that's new and developing, and that we're looking further into partnering. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Just briefly, sir, I don't think we've ever met. I'm a retired commander from Pasadena Police.
Nice to meet you.
Back when I was still working, the police department was conscious of the makeup of the city, the ethnic makeup, and we always tried to mirror that with our hirees. You mentioned the females that you had on the fire department. I would hope, it's more of a statement than a question, I would hope that you are looking at mirroring, I think for African Americans, maybe 10% now. Hispanics are probably 30, 40%. Hopefully your new hirees are looking at those numbers. So the 10% for African American and 30 to 40% for Hispanics. Just a statement.
I'm gonna shoot from the hip, but I believe we're 18% African American for our workforce right now. Where we're really underrepresented is on our Asian. And it's not from our attempts at not hiring. Part of it is culturally, there's just not as much interest in the fire service.
Sure.
But we always strive to have a workforce that represents our community.
Okay.
Any other questions? Let's give it up for the chief. And I just wanted to quickly mention that there are no buses coming out of Hammond. So those two buses enter through Mountain and exit through Mountain, and they charge at the city yards until the facility in East Pasadena is being built. So I know I heard that, and so I just wanted to make sure that that was stated as well. All right. Let me see if Lisa has anything else for me to say. Well, I appreciate you all coming out. This recording will be up on our website and we'll email it out. And thank you all for attending our District 3 meeting. And as always, we'll have our coffee and tea conversations on the weekends with different neighborhood associations. We'll mail out those notices as well. Feel free to reach out if you ever just want to meet and talk about any of the projects, any of the information here, or anything else. And I greatly appreciate representing you all, and thank you for attending.